But if you want me to tell you what I think is going on in LA today, what's going on in California, this is a total failure of leadership. I was mayor of Phoenix. We had incidents where oftentimes there would be riots that had some violence that were attached to them, or people being very upset about any one of a number of given issues. Here's why it's a failure in leadership. I don't think there's any doubt about it whatsoever that Donald Trump would not be doing this if it were a Republican governor in a Republican state. If the circumstances were all identical, he would not do this to a Republican governor. He's doing it because he wants to stick his finger in the eye of the Democrat. And you don't have to believe me, just listen to his comments. It's very clear that's kind of what he's doing. In doing that, he's putting in danger people who are in the National Guard and people who are in the Marine Corps, as well as members of the public. Now let's go to the other side. Let's go to Mayor Bass and Governor Newsom. There's no difference with them. You know, instead of them standing up and saying, hey, we disagree with this, but let's make certain that we're coordinating. We want to coordinate with you. You obviously have the right to make this choice. You had the right to do what you're doing. It hasn't been done in the past. It is it is abnormal, but we want to set partisan politics aside and make certain that we're number one, taking care of the needs that you have in terms of government facilities, making certain that we're coordinating with the National Guard and our police departments so the least amount of people get hurt on either side. That's not what you're hearing. Now, if you want to know why, I can tell you why. I spent a lifetime in politics, because they're both trying to appease their base voters. So if you just do some numbers here, it starts to make sense. About 70% of the public is registered to vote. About a third of those are Democrat, a third of those are Republican, a third of those are independent. Of the third that are Republican or Democrat, in a primary, partisan primary, only about a third of those show up. That's called your base voter. Right? But that makes up about 8 to 10% of the overall public on both sides. Now, I've polled them. I know where that group of voters are. They're grievance voters. They believe they've been aggrieved and they're angry. And the number one thing they want is to stick the finger in the eye of the guy on the other side. It's more important that the other guy loses than it is that they win. And you'll see that over and over again in polling on both sides. But again, you're talking about less than 20% of the American public. 80% of the American public, they want something different. They want things to work out. Now, if you want to know what's right with America, here's what it is. We are uniquely positioned on issues of disagreement. And when I say that, here's what I mean. There's no doubt, I'm optimistic, but being optimistic doesn't mean that you believe that every single problem is going to get worked out. It doesn't mean that problems don't exist, but we're uniquely positioned to be able to find answers to those problems because you can have a free discussion about it, because the sides can disagree, because we have a marketplace that can adapt to different markets. It's messy. Sometimes it's challenging, but we're able to work our way through it. There are some keys here. The rule of law is one of them. The Constitution is another. Making certain that we're working within the rules. Those things matter. But there's no place where these problems can be worked out better than the United States.